practice prone shavasana with a blanket roll underneath the low belly. So roll up your blanket as you see here, and then come onto your hands and knees and rest your belly down on the blanket roll. And take the blanket roll fairly low in the belly, but the pelvis should be hanging back and over it. So you have to play with the placement of the blanket roll to find a good place in the low belly, definitely below the rib cage. But let the pelvis and the rib cage be on opposite sides of the blanket roll. So the pelvis relaxes on one side of the blanket roll and the rib cage relaxes on the other. And the abdomen recedes to receive the pressure of the blanket roll. Let the belly be soft and receptive here. And let the belly receive the pressure of the blanket roll. You can let your forehead rest on your forearms. Relax the legs and the feet. So you should feel some pressure in your belly here from the blanket roll. And adjust your body so that you can relax here. Adjust the arms and the legs as you need to. If you like, you can open up the arms and turn your head to one side if that works for you. And if you do that, just be sure to switch your head in a few moments. Breathe into your belly here. Breathe into that pressure that you feel in the belly. Inhaling and exhaling here. Let the upper buttocks release back and down away from the lower back. Heavy tailbone here. Soft, receptive abdomen. Smooth inhalation. Smooth exhalation. Allow yourself to be supported by the floor and the blanket roll. Smooth, gradual breath. And just observe here, observing each moment. And then come up to hands and knees to come out of the pose. Sit down on your shins and pause. Take a nice deep breath in to lengthen your spine. And then as you exhale, start to come into cat pose. Bringing the chin towards the chest. Tailbone moves down and in, rounding the back. And then inhale into cow pose. Lifting the chest, lifting the buttocks. Shoulders move back away from the ears. And exhale back into cat pose. Really extend through your elbows. Reach your shoulder blades down towards your hands. And then inhale into cow. Let the bottom front ribs reach forward. Lift the chest, lift the buttocks. And exhale back into cat. And continue at your own pace here. And play with it a little bit. See if you can find some extra movement in the shoulder blade area, in the upper thoracic spine area. You can let yourself be a little bit creative here with some subtle movements, staying with the cat-cow pattern, but being a little bit experimental, a little bit squirmy. As you come into cow pose, feel the shoulders really move back away from the ears, shoulder blades sliding down the back. And then as you come into cat pose, round the whole spine and reach the shoulder blades away from the spine towards the hands. Relax internally as you keep going. See if you can deepen the movement. Deepen your awareness in the moment. And on your next inhalation, make your way back into a neutral position. Now we'll practice extended child's pose with 2 blocks. So have the blocks underneath your hands and come to hands and knees. Take your knees a little wider than hips, big toes are touching, and then pull your hips back onto your heels. And with extended arms, start to slide the blocks forward in space and lengthen the belly, the rib cage, the waist. As you stretch the arms even more, lengthen the armpits. Connect your hands into the blocks. Externally rotate the upper arms a little bit. And then inhale and lift your trunk up slightly and elongate the front ribs forward to lengthen the abdomen even more. Elongating those side ribs and armpits. Take the upper buttocks back and down, pull the hips back and down as much as you stretch your spine forwards. And see if you can relax any extraneous contraction or tension. And then inhale back up to hands and knees. And now we'll practice downward facing dog with a chair. So have your sticky mat against the wall and place the back of the chair at the wall. And rest your hands down on the seat of the chair and step your feet back into a down dog position. So we don't want the back to be rounded at all or the pelvis to be tucked. Rather, bend your knees and lift your buttocks way up high so that your pelvis will tilt on the femurs. So the buttocks is lifting, and let the front of your spine be very long. Stretch through the arms, stretch the elbows, the armpits, pull the outer hips back, pull the inner thighs back, pull the pubic bone back and up behind you, and let the head release down and let the chest release towards the toes. Think of the upper spine, the thoracic spine, deepening into the body towards the chest, and then lengthen the trunk. Lengthen the outsides of the trunk and lengthen the inner trunk. Lift the buttocks up. You can keep your knees bent here. That might help you lift the buttocks and pull it way back. And then lean into the chair as you step your feet forward. Grab your 2 blocks and we'll practice a simple lunge. So stand at the front of your sticky mat and have 1 block to each side of your feet. And then stand tall right over the arches with energized legs and a long spine. And then bend down and place your hands onto the blocks and step your left foot back into a lunge. And step back far enough so that your right knee is directly over your right heel. Lift the back thigh a lot. And then pull the outer right knee back towards the hip socket. So there's a feeling of that outer right thigh gathering in towards the hip. Lift the back inner thigh up. Gather your outer hips towards each other and lengthen your spine forward. Lengthen the anterior spine. Gather the outer hips in again, especially that outer right hip pulling back and in towards the midline. Lift the back thigh even more. And then step your back foot forward. And step your right foot back now, coming into a lunge. Left knee directly over the left heel. And think of that outer left thigh pulling back from the outer knee back into the outer hip. And then gather that left outer hip in towards the midline. Lift the right thigh. Lift the inner right thigh and press back through the back heel. Gather your hips again and lengthen through the front of the spine. Once again, pull that outer left thigh back towards the hip, pulling the left hip back and in towards the midline. And then step your back foot forward. Bring your hands to hips, stretch your chest forward to come up. And now place your hands onto the blocks and step your left foot back. Keep your back thigh lifting. Pull the outer right thigh back towards the hip and gather your outer hips in towards the midline and let your hips sink down so that they're at the height of the front knee. Keep the back thigh lifting even more as you bring the left hand and block closer to the inner right foot. And then turn the belly up towards the ceiling. You can even use your hand to help you. Turn the rib cage up towards the ceiling and lift your right arm up. Reach the right fingertips for the ceiling. Lengthen your spine. Pull the outer right hip back and keep lifted underneath the left frontal hip. Keep the back thigh lifting and turn a little bit more, staying long in the anterior spine. Gather the right knee in towards the midline. Gather the right hip in towards the midline. And then release and take your right hand back down to the block. Deepen in your twist here. Deepen in your lunge here. And then step your back foot forward and step the right leg back into a lunge. Keep the back thigh lifting. Pull the outer left thigh back towards the hip socket. So the left hip pulls back and gathers in towards the midline. And let your hips sink down so that they're at the same height as the front knee. Stay open in the back of the back knee. And then move your right hand and the block that's under it closer to the left inner foot. And start to twist your trunk to the left, pulling the belly up towards the ceiling, opening the left ribs, and reach your left arm up. Left palm open, fingertips extending, fingers extending. Lengthen the back heel back, lengthen the chest forward and up. Lift from underneath the right side of the pelvis and gather your outer hips in. Back thigh is lifting. And then release the left hand down, come back into a simple lunge. And step your back foot forward. Take a little forward bend here, letting the head release down. Hands to hips, chest reaches forward and come all the way up. Now we'll get ready for a deep low lunge with the back knee down. So place a blanket on your sticky mat as you see here. And that will be the padding for the knee that will drop down. And then stand at the front of your sticky mat with a block on either side of each foot. Stand tall in mountain pose. Stand tall in mountain pose with energized legs. And then bring your hands down to the blocks and step your left foot back. Gather the outer right hip back and in. Lift the back thigh up. Lengthen the spine from bottom to top. Long trunk here, long abdomen. And let your hips sink down to be the height of the front knee. And then let your hips sink even further down as you reach the left thigh further back and then place the left knee down on the blanket and then untuck your back toes. So the front of the shin and the front of the foot and the back leg is resting down on the blanket and the sticky mat, and sink your hips forward and down. So the whole sacrum is relaxing and releasing forwards, and then lift your low belly so that you lift your trunk up and out of the pelvis. Bending deeply in the front knee, pull the outer right hip back. Pull the right femur back towards the hip socket. Pull the outer right hip back and also towards the midline. Gather your hips towards each other. Lift the low belly. Kick the back shin into the sticky mat. And then tuck your back toes under. Lift your back thigh and step your back foot forward. And now step your right foot back. First coming into a simple lunge. Gather the left femur back towards the hip socket. Lift the back thigh. Let your hips come down to be the same height as the front knee. Gather your hips together and lengthen your spine. And then walk your right leg even further back. Extend that right thigh further back. Sink your hips down and then lower the back knee down onto the blanket. And rest the top of your back foot down onto the sticky mat. Kick the right shin down into the ground as you take your hips forward, letting the whole sacrum move forward. The tailbone moves into the body, and then lift your low belly and gather your outer left hip from the outer knee to the hip socket. So the outer left hip gathers back and in towards the midline. Squeeze your outer hips together, lift the deep low belly again, and lengthen through the anterior spine, kicking the right shin down. Bending deeply in the front knee. Smooth breathing here. And then tuck your back toes and lift your back thigh. And step your back foot forward. Bend your knees, relax and release your head down. And then take your hands to hips and stretch your chest forward to come on up. Now we'll practice Ardha Uttanasana. So have 2 blocks in front of you at shoulder distance apart. Stand with your feet at hip distance apart. Thigh bones rolling in, thigh bones back. Feet are awake. Lift your spine. And then exhale and bend your knees. Crease at the hips to fold forward. And take your hands to the blocks. What you don't want to do is curl your spine and tuck your pelvis here, but rather bend your knees, lift your buttocks, stretch the bottom front ribs forwards, elongate through the elbows, and then maintaining this position in the pelvis with the buttocks lifting and spreading. See how much you can stretch and lengthen the backs of the legs. See how much you can open the backs of the knees. Stay grounded in the inner feet. Stretch the chest forward because there's a lengthening happening from deep inside the trunk. Breathe here. And then exhale, take your hands down to the floor, bend your knees deeper and release your trunk all the way down, head relaxing and releasing. And then bring your hands to your outer hips, stretch your chest forward, shoulders back, and come all the way up to stand. Now we'll practice Uttanasana with bent knees. So take your feet hip distance apart, soft knees, hands on hips. Lengthen the spine, shoulders back, and look up. And then exhale, crease at the hips, bend your knees deeper and fold forward, resting the rib cage onto the thighs. And let your arms relax and release. And let your head go. Let your head be heavy, and you can even shake your head out a little bit. Be grounded in your feet, and then think of making your legs taller. So you can keep soft knees here, but energetically lift the backs of the thighs up. Energetically, more and more, spread open and long the backs of the knees. And now play with taking your weight from side to side. So shift over so that you're more standing over the right foot. And then shift over so that you're standing more on the left foot. And breathe deeply here as you deepen the forward bend. And then inhale and roll yourself up, stacking the vertebrae one at a time, curling up. And then finally lift the chest, shoulders wide, and then lift the head. Now we'll do a variation of Urdhva Hastasana with 2 blocks and a strap. So place 1 block between your feet and place 1 block between your upper inner thighs. And then hold on to the strap with your hands at shoulders distance apart and lift the strap up and overhead. Let the thighs internally rotate and the outer thighs squeeze the block. So the outer thighs squeeze the inner thighs, which squeeze the block, and then lift the low belly up off the pelvis. And lift the rib cage up off the abdomen. Lift the back ribs up off of the lower back. Stretch the arms up to the ceiling. Put tension on the strap. Extend the arms and legs fully. Make lots of space and length in your body here. And let the abdomen settle back towards the anterior surface, the front surface of the lumbar spine. So let the front waist move to the back waist. As your arms move back, let the waist move back. Stand right over your arches and lengthen and breathe here. Full extension in the arms and the legs. Create an ascension of the spine from bottom to top, deep inside yourself. Deep breath here, and then lower your arms down. And now lay down on your back for a pose that I call windshield wiper. Have your knees bent and feet flat, feet pretty wide, wider than the sitting bones. Neutral pelvis, neutral spine. Stretch your arms out to the sides at shoulder height. And then walk your feet even closer to your sitting bones and even wider. And then keeping your feet planted, lower your knees down to the right. And enjoy this gentle twist as the right knee falls more to the right and the left knee falls more to the right. Slide your shoulder blades down your back and lengthen your spine. And feel the position of the pelvis relative to the spine. And feel the position of each femur relative to the hip sockets. And then lift your knees back up to the center, feet staying grounded. And lower the knees over to the left side, letting the femurs move in the hip sockets. Letting left knee heavy falling to the left. Right knee heavy falling to the left. And enjoy the spinal twist. Get longer in your trunk here as you breathe. And then inhale back to the center and exhale your knees over to the right side. Inhale your knees up to the center and exhale the knees over to the left side. And then inhale back up and continue like this. Moving and breathing together. And especially focus on the movement of the heads of the femurs in the hip sockets. Continuing. And see if you can go a little deeper into the pose in the next couple of rounds. And then come up to center. And start on your back again here for a simple outer hip stretch. Knees bent and feet flat, starting with a neutral pelvis. And for a moment, take your arms overhead along the floor, lengthen the armpits and the elbows. Extend the spine long and take a deep inhalation. Let the pelvis be heavy and relaxed. Be grounded in your feet. And then take your arms out to the sides and cross your right ankle over your left knee. And let the right knee open out to the right. And then lift the left foot up off the floor, which will bring your whole right leg closer to your chest. And then grab onto the back of the left thigh. So grab onto the hamstring close to the knee with both of your hands. So the right hand will go in the hole between the right leg and the left leg. And think of pressing your right knee away from your chest as you bring the right shin bone towards your collarbones. Press the right thigh away from the abdomen. And breathe into this sensation here. Pull your left knee and right ankle closer into your chest to deepen the stretch. Still pressing the right thigh and knee away from your chest. And then release and come to center, both feet on the mat. Arms out to the sides and cross the left ankle over the right knee, keeping the left knee open. And then start to take the right knee and left ankle towards the chest as you grab onto the right hamstring with both hands. Left arm reaching in the hole between the left thigh and the right thigh. And keep pressing the left knee away from you. And that's happening because the femur is turning in the hip socket. So you're finding a deep external rotation in the hip socket in order to stretch the deep hip rotators. And pull the right knee and left ankle closer into your chest. Stay long in your spine here. Don't harden or push the abdomen, but stay long in the lumbar, long in the thoracic spine. Breathing deeply here. Breathing into the sensations, relaxing into the stretch that you feel. And then release the right foot down and the left foot down. Stretch your arms out to the sides. Relax and lengthen the belly. Rest in neutral. Now we'll practice a simple groin stretch. Start on your back with a neutral pelvis, neutral spine, knees bent and feet flat. Legs are parallel, and stretch your arms overhead. Lengthen out through the arms. And then stretch the legs as well and roll the thighs internally so the fronts of your legs point straight up to the ceiling. And be very long in your limbs and in your trunk here, creating length. And then keep that length in the trunk, in the left leg, and bring the right knee towards the chest, towards the right side of the chest, even towards the right armpit. And grab onto the right knee with both hands and clasped fingers. And stay long in the abdomen, long in the spine. Extend long through that left leg. Roll the left thigh in and ground the left thigh bone down towards the floor. And then grab the right knee with your right hand only, as you see here, and start to pull your right knee out to the right. Stretch your left arm to the left at shoulder height and open up that right knee out to the side. Stay long in the left leg and play with moving around that right knee up towards the armpit, down towards hip level. And see if you can explore a groin inner thigh stretch here as the right knee opens out to the right. And then bring the knee back to center and pause here. And then stretch your right leg out, lengthening it out as you bring your left knee towards the left side of your chest. And grab onto the top of the left shin with clasped fingers. And pull the left knee towards the left armpit as you stretch the right leg more. Internally rotate, especially at the very top of the right thigh, and ground the right thigh down. Stay awake in your feet, toes spreading. Long spine. Don't let your abdomen become hardened. A receding, long abdomen. Open chest, shoulder blades sliding down your back. And then stretch the right arm to the right as you take the left knee in the left hand only and start to pull the knee over to the left so the knee stays bent. And you open that left knee out to the left, staying active in your right leg. And play with some movement here, taking your left knee up towards the armpit or down towards hip level. Explore the range of motion here as you enjoy the groin opening. Reach the inner right foot forward and take your knee out to the side even more, deepening the stretch. And then take your knee back to the center. And then place your left foot down. Bend your right knee and place your right foot down. Now we'll practice a modified version of Supta Padangusthasana. Be on your back with a neutral spine, neutral pelvis, parallel legs and feet. Have your strap nearby. And then adjust the flesh of the buttocks so that you can pull the upper buttocks away from the lower back. And then rest the pelvis again in neutral and stretch your arms overhead along the floor. Extend your elbows, lengthen through the armpits. Lengthen the whole torso, lengthen the rib cage. And then release your arms back down towards your sides. Grab onto your strap. And take the strap around the right foot. And I suggest taking the strap to the upper heel. You can also strap the arch of the foot or the ball of the foot. And then kick your heel up into the strap, but keep your knee bent. See if you can keep your pelvis neutral here. So if you tuck your pelvis, then you won't get as much stretch in your hamstring. Pelvis is neutral, and then the femur bone moves within the hip socket. Kick your heel up. Knee can stay bent, but continue the action of kicking the right heel up. The left foot is supporting you. Roll your thighs in a little bit. Keep a long spine and an open chest. See if you can lengthen the right leg. Open the back of the knee a little bit more. And breathe into the sensations in the back of that right knee and the back of the thigh. And then release and bring the foot back down to the floor and take a rest. And now take the strap around the left foot, strapping the heel or the arch or the ball of the foot, and you'll find that where you strap your foot will affect what's stretching in your leg. So you can experiment with that. And then kick your left heel up towards the ceiling. And again, you can keep the knee bent a little bit, but continue to kick the heel upwards to challenge the back of the left leg to lengthen little by little, gradually. Spine stays long, collarbones stay wide, elbows wide, shoulder blades sliding down your back. Left heel kicking up, thighs rolling in a little bit. Relaxed, receding, long belly. So don't harden or shorten the belly or the trunk, but rather keep the trunk long and relaxed. Pelvis is in neutral. Try not to tuck here. With tight hamstrings, it's easy for the pelvis to just tuck. And then release and place your left foot back down on the floor. Now lay down on your back for a variation of belly rolling. Have a block nearby. And then place the block between your knees, knees over hips. Stretch your arms out to the sides, long extended arms, shoulder blades sliding down your back. And then as you exhale, take your knees over towards your right elbow and they'll hover there. Knees are squeezing the block, and focus on the stretch of the inner arms. Lengthen the collarbones horizontally and slide your shoulder blades down your back and slide your belly to the left. And then inhale your knees to the center and exhale your knees over towards the left elbow. Spread wide through your arms. Press the backs of your hands into the floor. Slide your shoulder blades down your back and slide your belly to the right. Be wide in your collarbones here. Stay active in your arms. Inhale to the center. And exhale your knees over towards the right elbow. Inhale, knees to the center. And exhale your knees over towards the left elbow. Inhale the knees to the center and keep going on your own here. And then bring your feet back down to the floor and rest. And lay down on your back now for a supine twist. Extend your arms out to the sides. Lift your knees up over your hips. And then take your knees over to the right towards your right elbow. And rest your legs down on the floor here, and then reach the left arm to the left to increase the twist. Feel your belly rolling to the left as your legs relax more and more to the right. Have a sense of widening across the collarbones, long and wide through the arms, open hands. You can ground your arms down into the floor. Lengthen the spine here and turn the belly more to the left as you relax the legs more to the right. And then bring your legs up to the center. And take your legs over towards the left elbow, knees nice and bent. Take a moment as you settle your body here. Reach the right arm to the right to help open the chest. And let your belly recede and roll to the right as you relax your legs more and more to the left. Spread through the arms, long spine, Smooth breath. Roll the belly to the right. And then take the legs back to center and feet down. Now we'll practice a supported fish with a bolster underneath the rib cage and have a strap nearby for your hands. So lay back so the bolster supports you underneath your thoracic spine. Release the flesh of the buttocks away from the lower back, away from the back ribs. Knees bent and feet flat to support you, and then grab your strap and reach your arms up and overhead, hands holding the strap at shoulder distance apart. Enjoy this nice extension of the spine as you lengthen through the front of the spine and lengthen the abdomen, and then extend your legs. Stretch the legs and stretch the arms. Allow yourself to be supported by the bolster here. Become internally absorbed here. As you relax and release and gently guide yourself to lengthen a little more. Smooth and steady inhalation and a steady exhalation. And then bend your knees one at a time, place your feet flat, and roll to your side. Pass through your side to come out of the pose, coming on up to sit. We'll complete this practice with chair shavasana. Put the chair on your sticky mat and sit down close to the front of the chair, and then swing your legs up onto the chair and lay down. And please adjust the flesh of your buttocks to pull the flesh of your buttocks away from your low back. And then adjust the shoulders so your shoulder blades are settled nicely down your back, and let the arms relax. Let the legs be supported by the chair. Let the lower back be supported by the floor. And let your whole body relax and release down. Smooth and steady your breathing here.